Tuesday, maybe?
Tuesday,
Yes,
Wednesday-ish.
it was Tuesday.
Okay.
It was definitely Tuesday because it was like I saw it like right before NXT, and I was like, who cares about NXT? Let's get into this, the big stories of the week, and I say stories because it's multiple stories, but it's all revolving around one topic, main topic. That is Vincent Kennedy McMahon, VCAM. So he's had quite the week of reclaiming power.
He's been busy.
I jotted down a little timeline here. So, first, we have Stephanie McMahon. She announces that she is stepping down as CEO. She put out this nice little letter saying that she was basically going back into her. Because when Vince McMahon left, she was on like a leave of absence. She basically put out the thing on Twitter, says she's going back to her leave. In fact, she's taking it further and completely stepping away. What I want to point out here, real quick, is that a few days ago, you had Stephanie McMahon, when Vince McMahon came back, assuring everybody that nothing was going to change. And then here she is stepping down. So that's already a change. You're here telling people, oh, nothing's going to change. Everything's going to stay the same. Everything's going to run the same. And then a few days later, by the way, I'm stepping out. So there's that change, but nothing else is going to change. We assure you that nothing else is going to change after this. To move forward, progress forward in the timeline, a few hours, I forget if it was before or after, but I put after. A few hours after this, there was also news that Vince McMahon had unanimously voted as executive chairman. So he's the chairman of the board, back where he was before. The big thing here was it being that it was a unanimous decision because, they were all against him not being back. And now they're like unanimously voting him. The other question that I couldn't seem to get answered was Stephanie in on that vote, or had she resigned before then? That's why it was important to see if it was before or after. It changes things if she wasn't. Now, I guess I can go ahead and throw this in since we're here on it. From the reports, it looks like the big thing of why Stephanie stepped down is that her and Triple H, they oppose selling WWE, as in they don't want it to be sold, and Vince wants it to be sold, so there's like a disagreement there. I guess enough of a disagreement to where Stephanie McMahon didn't want to be with the company anymore.
And
And
she's been around the
we,
company forever too. That's just astonishing that if this is the end of Stephanie in the WWE, that it would end like this.
yeah, and of course you got like speculation running wild again on why she left.
Right.
It's like, did she leave because she doesn't want the company to be sold? I don't know why she would leave if that's the case. Like that, that would just make it easier for him to sell because now there's less people opposing him on it. Or did she leave because the company is sold and she doesn't agree with who bought it?
Or did she leave because Vince wanted her out? Because remember, she was supposed to go on a leave, and then Vince's issues came out, and then she came back.
Right, because she was taken over.
So now Vince is back. Stephanie is expendable again.
I mean, you would think, it being his daughter, it wouldn't be that, like, I want her out. But it is possible that is a thing.
If anybody would do it, it'd be Vince. Oh, she's not best for business.
Well, we go even further down this rabbit hole. Because I did mention that maybe she is opposed to who they're selling to, and that's why she's no longer with the company. We got this report on Tuesday that the WWE has been sold to Saudi Arabia Public Investment Funds. What you need to know about that is just Saudi Arabia. They sold to Saudi Arabia, and that's going to be our WWE now. I mean, you had everybody who's anybody in the community covering this.
Yep.
Fightful, Wrestle Talk, everybody put videos out saying WWE is sold to Saudi Arabia. Except for all of the quote-unquote journalists. They weren't saying anything yet.
They were waiting until the dust settled.
Yeah, they were saying, we're going to get confirmation on this before we tell you definitively that they've sold. And then you have the real journalists. They come out and basically squash it and said, no, they're not sold. Ariel Helwani, he came out and said it. TMZ, they came out and said it. Like, no, they're not sold. to say that it got so big that the big dogs had to come out and say, no, this is not true. That was just a weird thing to me.
Well, think about it though. This is huge. This is almost like if Disney were being bought by somebody. You know, this is an institution.
I mean, they definitely are selling.
The belief is that they are going to sell to somebody that's going to let Vince still run the place. And also the belief
Well,
is that Saudi Arabia is the just the one that's crazy enough to let them do that.
well, apparently, yeah. So Saudi Arabia, they don't know enough about the wrestling industry to know that, yeah, that would be the best thing. Apparently, like a couple years ago, they asked to have Yokozuna at one of the Saudi shows. Shows you how close they follow wrestling.
Or the access to the wrestling that they had. That was prior to the Crown Jewel stuff. So they've been into Crown Jewel for a few years now. I would assume that all the Saudi Arabia citizens that are going to be interested in wrestling are interested in wrestling now.
True. You would think that, or that's the belief that they would be crazy enough to put Vince or keep Vince in charge. So it seems like this whole thing for Vince is not about like the highest bidder, and it shouldn't be because he's made more money than he can spend before he's gone. So it's not about money. For him, it's more seemingly about a power play, like who's going to keep me in control.
Right. At least
I saw-
outside looking in.
Yeah, I saw reports today, or they had a meeting with ESPN,
Oh, really?
and yeah, and apparently ESPN isn't on board with the whole working with Vince thing.
Of course.
So
ESPN's Disney.
yeah, so they said if they do buy it, then yeah, Vince is gonna have to be out.
Right.
And of course, it's because it's at Disney. They're
They pretend to be
we,
wholesome.
we talked last week about what would happen if Disney got
Right.
WWE. WWE would have to change in their image.
Yeah, and
I
it
mean,
wouldn't
it'd
be for the good.
it'd be good for Rhea Ripley. It'd be good for Quincy Elliott.
It'd be good for Sonny Kiss too when he crosses over.
Yeah, Sonny Kiss is gonna leave AEW and come. It's like, I could be the world champion over there.
I could be myself.
They said they want to make me world champion to beat Roman Reigns in 30-second squash match. Another name that has popped up as a potential buyer for the WWE is Khan. Yes, that Khan. Apparently, Dede is looking for some investors for the Khans to buy WWE.
I don't think that one's gonna happen.
Why not? I mean, I agree it's not going to happen, but I want to hear why you think it's not going to happen.
Right now, I think AEW is just a vanity project for Tony Khan. If he took over WWE, well, then you'd have like Fox's expectations, and then you'd have whoever Raw's on. You'd have their expectations.
USA?
Yeah, you'd have to do things their way. Is AEW private or public?
They're private.
So I mean, you can't run it your way. You have shareholders to answer to, and we don't know. Like, bottom line is how profitable AEW really is. Like, sure, they tell us like $1 million gates and stuff, but they also have like 1,000 wrestlers that they're paying.
True.
Tony doesn't know how to handle AEW. There's no way he'd be able to handle WWE. Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega would have all the belts.
I guess we're gonna keep fantasy booking this. Surely Tony Khan would understand that he's booking AEW, he's booking Rampage, he's booking Ring of Honor. Surely he would understand that he cannot also then go over and book WWE too. So surely he would just let them. I would say he's just the name on the building, but you let them run it how they run it. Of course, Vince McMahon would not be in that equation, so that's another reason, or that's one of my reasons he wouldn't do it.
Well, yeah, there's also that.
My quick reasons is, number one, Vince McMahon wouldn't let Tony Khan have the company. That's just he would never go for that.
Why not?
Because that's his competition.
Okay.
Like, I would think he would let the company burn before he sold it to Tony Khan. He doesn't like AEW. He just doesn't. It would be like him selling to Ted Turner. Never would happen. It also wouldn't be good for the industry as a whole.
No.
For one person to own all of wrestling, essentially. That's what got
Well,
us here in the first place.
yeah, I was gonna say that's kind of what's well that and I mean Vince is really the last of the old guard as far as like actual wrestling. Even though like his product is the furthest thing from wrestling, it's still the closest thing to wrestling. I think Tony Khan, the only what he's demonstrated is that he can have like a niche product with a certain dedicated fan base. But as far as like a national global product, I don't know if AEW is that. I don't know if he knows how to do that the way Vince does.
Obviously, 4 years doing it versus 30 something years.
True.
Probably longer, way longer than that.
And
So
there's
yeah.
also that advantage as well. But I think it's harder to maintain something like that than it is to get yourself there.
Well, I would think surely his name would just be on the checks. But you let I don't know, you let Triple H run Raw or run WWE or something. Not necessarily creative wise. You don't like necessarily have to take over creative just because you bought the company.
Yeah, I think his ego's too big. I think he'd have to be in the creative. He wants to be Vince McMahon. I know what you're
Like we
saying, but the smart thing to do now would be to get somebody that knows what the fuck they're doing to put together a cohesive wrestling program instead of just shit. Tony hasn't done that with his own product for 4 years. He hasn't done that with Ring of Honor for what, the year and a half that he's owned it. So if they take over WWE, he's just going to put that under his belt and do the same thing with that as he's doing with his own shit. He's not going to get somebody separate.
just another toy in his toy box.
Uh huh.
It would be crazy though.
I don't
But
think.
I don't think they're. I mean, if I had a, it seems from the outside looking in that Disney, unfortunately, would be your front runner
I would think Saudi Arabia.
or Saudi. Yeah, Disney or Saudi. Those seem to be your front runners, and then the pipe dreams are the other companies, and then the cons like way down on the totem pole.
Right.
It's like, yeah, your name's in the hat, but barely.
We'll listen to you, but yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, it's funny though that you mentioned creative because there's more to this thing. So those are the potential buyers. We had a company-wide meeting on Friday, and in the company meeting, Triple H told the talent that he is still the head of creative. That is not going to change.
Until Vince
Then
replaces him like he did in NXT.
now the funny thing is, he said, "Hey, I'm in control of creative." He then went on to say that, yeah, maybe Vince gives some inputs on creative, but he always defers to me. So why are you already saying that? Oh, he said I'm the guy. I mean, yeah, he talks to me about it. He tells me, there's things he doesn't like. Yeah, but I mean, he lets me do it though. It's still mine. I was completely wrong. Last week I said, I wonder if it's going to be before or after WrestleMania to when Vince takes over creative. I was way off on that timeline. Now the question is it going to be before or after Royal Rumble? It looks like Vince is very, very close to taking over creative. And I know, I just literally got through reading that Vince said, or Triple H said he's in charge of creative still. But to even be bringing that up means that we're closer than we should be
Right.
to Vince taking back over. Like the fact that you even have to say that already says that there's there's movement happening to it. I don't want Vince to take back over creative. This all seems to be happening so fast.
It's happening so fast. Nothing's substantiated. I mean, obviously they're not releasing their every move as to what they're doing. All we can do is speculate. Optics wise, the head of the company comes back and he fires his daughter who's been there forever. That doesn't look good. Doesn't bode well for the product. You got Triple H saying that Vince isn't going to be affecting creative, but at the same time going to be affecting creative. Maybe they don't know what's going on either. Once the sale happens, I think that's when the dust will start settling, and then they'll either remold into what they're going to be. They're going to readjust to who's having them on their platform.
I just want to take the time to reiterate, don't be concerned so much as to who buys the WWE. As fans, we shouldn't really concern ourselves in that unless we're shareholders and we're getting paid something from that. What we should be concerned with is what happens to the TV product.
Right.
As long as it doesn't change, should not be our concern. If it changes, now that's where you need to be concerned. if company buys it to where Vince can still run it, then maybe we have something there. I still say Vince though shouldn't be in charge of creative.
He shouldn't be.
Old Vince, old Vince, yes, but I'm sorry, like old as in like the previous Vince, yes, like Attitude Era, the guy who did that,
Right.
yes. I'm telling you, if it happens, literally week after like 6 weeks straight of the exact same show is what was happening when he was at the end there. Like week to week, the show was exactly the same, top to bottom. The only thing that would change would be like some of the promos in and out, but like the gist of the promos would be the same. All the matches were the exact same, and it would happen for like 6 weeks straight. So I hope that Vince doesn't get back control of creative because yeah, seeing the same match. Can you imagine doing the show and talking about the same match 6 weeks in a row?
I feel like that's what we do now.
Well,
How often has Owens wrestled the Usos?
well, that's different
Okay.
because it changes each week. Like he has a different opponent, or I'm sorry, different partner.
Well,
But can you imagine?
there's chaos in the beginning. Owens comes out to settle it down. Then a match happens.
Okay. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up.